Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Real Talk Real Estate. This is the David Greene Show. And as you saw from the title, we're going to be talking about portable mortgages. What do they mean? How do they work? Are they coming? We don't know a lot. We know a little bit. We're going to be getting into that today. So first off, thanks for being here. I appreciate you guys all for following the channel. I also appreciate you guys for subscribing. So if you can take a minute, subscribe to the show, you'll get notified when I'm going live so that you know when it comes. We got a couple of videos, so let's get into that today. And on these live shows, if you guys would like, comment and let me know what your questions are as we're going through it.
Rates rose for the second straight week after reaching the lowest level of the year. But the Trump administration is actively evaluating this option that's called portable mortgages that could make housing more affordable and open up supply, letting homeowners take their original mortgage rate with them when they move. So here to help us break it all down is Justin Wolfers, professor of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan. Great to see you, Justin. This is really a talker. In my team meeting today, we were all talking about this and how would this work? Because as we know, as I mentioned, there's a supply issue in the housing market, right? A lot of people are staying in their homes due to the fact their interest rates are so much lower than the market rate right now. Could this?
She's making a great point. This is why this is even coming up, because people sort of have the mortgage handcuffs where they would move, but they don't want to because they don't want to get rid of their interest rate. And unless there's a portable mortgage, which is a marketing technique, we're going to talk about what it actually would mean. It's not as complicated as you would think. People don't want to move. Houses don't sell. People don't make money. The economy doesn't move. And if you think about how many people get paid when there is a housing transaction, you can understand this has a very big impact on the overall wealth and health of the economy.
Work. Yes, I love everything about this idea, and we should do it. So let me give you a real simple analogy. We have something like this when you think about your cell phone plan. When you buy a new cell phone, you don't always have to go and get a new plan right away. Your cell phone carries over with you rather than with your phone. And this is sort of saying your mortgage should move with you. After all, you're the one with the earning power. You're the one who has to repay it rather than living with your house. So this could work.
Now, the reason mortgages live with houses is because the house acts as the collateral for the debt. So when you buy a house, you're putting a little bit of your own money into it. That's a down payment. You're getting the rest from a lender, which is usually a bank. They're putting that in. And if you don't pay them back, they would get to take the house from you as collateral, sell it, and recover the money that they gave you. This debt obligation is recorded as a lien against the house, meaning if that house sells before anybody gets any money, that lender gets paid first. And if you have additional debt like a HELOC, that would be considered second position. Now that person would get paid before you get paid, and you only get the money that's left after all of the lien holders that are securing your debt are paid back.
And it could also unlock the housing market. Mm-hmm. A lot of people right now, they are sitting on mortgages with really low interest rates. That's fantastic for them, but it also means that if you wanted to downsize, maybe the kids left the house, if you want to downsize, you'd have to actually get a higher mortgage rate. You'd actually lose money by moving to a smaller house. And that's why a lot of people right now feel like they're frozen in the house that they're in. Well, that unlocks this.
Right. And there's that supply and demand issue. So housing prices are higher because of that supply and demand dynamic. But so we were trying to game this out in our meeting. And listen, we're journalists. We're not mathematicians. So help us understand this. What would happen if you had a portable mortgage, but you still owed money on your...
Fun fact, I was interviewed on CNN on this same guest show a couple years ago. I think it was actually on Mother's Day.
Home.
Right. So this isn't an abstract exercise. We don't need math. You can just look across the border to the Canadians who already do this, as do the Brits. So you're currently in your home, you've paid half of it off, but you haven't paid the other half off. Well, what would happen is you would get to take that half that you still owe with you to pay for your next house. And so it's basically saying, I made a deal with you at the start, which is I'm going to pay you back all the money I lent you. And just because I'm moving, we don't have to rewrite the deal. And it's as simple as that.
So you're saying we were overcomplicating it, it sounds like. We were overthinking it.
He's oversimplifying it. It's not that simple. There's going to be much more to this because you got to remember, the collateral of the house you're moving into has to be the same or greater than the one that you left. So So if you have a mortgage where you owe a bank $400,000 on a house that you could sell for $450,000, and then you move out of that house and you move to another house worth $300,000, the bank, if they had to foreclose on you, couldn't get back their $400,000 if your new house was only worth $300,000. And he hasn't mentioned that. I'm hoping that he does. But this idea that it's super simple and easy to do, there's going to be a lot more moving pieces than they're saying if they actually pull this off.
Thinking it was more complicated than maybe perhaps it was. But, it almost sounds too good to be true. I mean, what about the banks here? Is this good for them?
Right. So here's where we need to be a little bit careful. So when I say it's all pretty simple if we made all future mortgages portable. Because you're right, there's a lot of math in the background. Banks employ a whole lot of nerds who have huge spreadsheets who think about all the risks and what could go right and what could go wrong. And that math does change when we're in a world of portable mortgages. Why is that? Because at the moment, your bank might think, you're only going to be in your house for 10 years. Now, if the mortgage is portable, it thinks you're going to keep that mortgage for a long time. So its math changes. So it just means it will change the types of mortgages it offers in the future. If we talk about making existing mortgages portable, that's a lot more complicated and a whole lot hairier.
Okay, interesting. So let me ask you about this other idea that's been floated, this idea of a 50-year mortgage.
All right, here's another problem with this. If we're only going to do this with new mortgages, how does this really benefit anybody? Because the problem is, like they said earlier, 52.4% of existing homes have a mortgage 4% or less. We don't have mortgages anywhere close to 4%. We're at the 6.5%, 6.25%, depending on the type of property. You're looking to get maybe 6.4 would be a good number. So if we give everybody a portable mortgage at 6.4, it doesn't get any of the existing inventory that we need put back into the market working. You'd have to retroactively go back and make existing mortgages portable. Otherwise, this is just a big talking point to get everybody interested. It's not going to have a very big impact on the housing market.
To reduce monthly payments. It's obviously garnered some criticism because of how much an interest you'd be paying over time. What's your take?
Look, there's a similarity to these two plans, which I think is really worth emphasizing. Both of them are thinking about demand for housing. Now, the housing problem, the housing crisis, is we have too many people relative to the number of houses. Well, if you make houses more, all of these things are basically creating more buyers, not fewer. In some sense, they make the problem worse. If you want to solve housing affordability, the single best way of doing it is figure out ways to make it easier to build more houses. The biggest problem, of course, is zoning, local governments. They often don't like to let people build. But that's basically the people within a city saying, hey, we've already built our house in this city. We don't want to share. And so they're preventing that new construction from occurring. But if you want lower house prices, you've got to work on construction rather than working on loans.
All right, Justin Wolfers, thank you so much. Nice to see you.
How much?
And that puts us right back to where we started, where you guys are hearing all this talk in the news about 50-year mortgages, portable mortgages, smoke and mirrors. There's all this talk going on. And then at the end, he just comes around and says, what I've been saying for years is that we got to build more houses. That's how you're going to get housing prices lower. And we got another video to get into, but I do want everybody to keep in mind, if you're thinking that any of these ideas that are coming around are going to turn around the economy, your expectations need to be adjusted. It does not work that easily. All right, let me know in the comments what you guys think, and I'm going to get to the next video.
As the housing crisis continues to strain first-time buyers or baby boomers looking to downgrade, the Trump administration is floating some new ideas, like portable mortgages. A portable mortgage is just what it sounds like, being able to take the mortgage rate with you if you move, or allowing buyers to assume the mortgage rate the previous homeowners had on the home.
So what you're trying to address here, obviously, is people who are able to refinance at some point in time and were able to get a very low interest rate around that 3%, and now maybe want to move or need to move, but are just really hesitating doing so because their new mortgage may likely carry an interest rate, especially for a 30-year, somewhere between 6 and 7%.
Jennifer Sundstrom with the Realtors Association of Northeast Wisconsin says there's not really a negative to the idea of assumable or portable mortgages, but
how many lenders are going to be willing to do that is really the tricky part in all of this.
Earlier this week, the Trump administration also floated the idea of 50-year mortgages. While those or portable mortgages may open doors for some, Sundstrom says the real solution is increasing supply.
The federal government can do things and the state government is doing things, but at the end of the day, 80% of it comes down to our local communities that decide what we do or do not build and how fast we do it, and have a big impact on the cost of that housing.
And many local communities are taking these steps. The city of Green Bay is expected to soon pass a portion of the 2050 comprehensive plan, which will help increase housing supply through the modernization of zoning.
Increased density, which means smaller lots, being able to do more types of residential construction, not just large detailed.
All right, here's what they're getting at. Common theme over and over and over is make it easier to build. Get government regulation out of the way so it is cheaper and easier to make more homes. You guys are listening to me. I'm just going to go on the record. I'm going to say it right here. The reason housing is so expensive is not because the greedy investors are buying all the houses. Do you know what would make investors not want to buy houses anymore? If it was hard to find a tenant for them. And you know what would make it hard to find a tenant? It would be if everybody could own a home. And you know what would make it easier for everyone to own a home is if housing was cheaper. And housing would be cheaper if we had more of it. And what stops us from having more of it is all the regulation. Your local city officials have a deep sense that they need to feel significant. And many of them never went out and did anything hard in the world and learned anything. So instead they ran for political office. And it makes them feel important when they get to tell you no. It's kind of like that hall monitor when you were in school that saw you running to the bathroom or running to try to get class. And they loved that they got to report you to somebody else and get you in trouble because it gave them a sense of power. The same thing's going on in the different cities. They love to say no, or if you want to do it, you got to do all these steps. And I'm going to tell you guys another dirty little secret that a lot of real estate developers know, and hopefully I don't get banned for saying this. The reason they make it really hard and they say no all the time is partly emotional because it makes them feel important, but it's also financial. If they make it really difficult to build homes, they control who gets to build homes. And if you grease the wheels the right way, if you know what I'm saying, you jump to the front of the line. If everybody can go and build, how do they get paid on the side? It's ugly, it's dirty, this is the reality, and it's why your house and the houses you want to buy are so expensive. All right, we got one more video, and then we will be done for this video.
The White House has another unique idea to unlock the stalled housing market after floating a 50-year mortgage over the weekend. The administration is now looking into portable mortgages, which would allow homeowners to transfer their current rate from one house to another. So in theory, this would push homeowners who were locked into a low rate to list their house, opening up more sales. And Katrina, why this feels more palpable to me than a 50-year mortgage is this is trying to at least address the supply side versus a demand side.
I agree with you 1,000%. I think that the affordability crisis is not going to be solved by one policy.
And I just found out that the mic was not working. Can you guys confirm to me that you can hear me better now? And were you able to hear me before?
Alone, but I do love this idea of being able to take your mortgage. Like, can you imagine you have a 2 or 3% mortgage, you haven't been able to move, and now all of a sudden you can take that to another property? It will open up supply, as you mentioned. The 50-year mortgage, I didn't like that idea. I understand that it was just presented as one tool in the toolbox, but ultimately you're paying so much interest. And I understand that the payments are going to be lower per month, but I just don't think that it was the best solution. However, I do commend President Trump and the administration for trying to solve the housing issue. I do think we need to also eliminate red tape because so much.
We call it blue tape.
Oh, yeah. Blue tape. Oh, I like that. I like that.
It's never red tape. It's always blue tape.
You're right.
Can I ask you a question?
Okay, she's making a reference there to the fact that it tends to be Democratic cities that put up the most red tape, so it's blue tape.
Does it give the portable mortgage, or does it give people who have great mortgages an unfair advantage in the market?
That's an argument.
Because they're going to.
But life isn't fair, Brian.
You're right.
Like,
I know.
no.
Well, believe me, I know this. But I'm just saying. So you get to walk out with your 3% mortgage and go bid on other homes. still seems like if you didn't get the 3% mortgage, you're still going to be at a big disadvantage.
Refi in 5 years.
Is it still more of a demand side thing than a supply? I'm just asking.
Well, I know that what your argument is that prices will continue to go up because now those people have more power and they're able to bid up homes.
Yeah,
I get that argument. So right, but I also.
This is by far the best and most nuanced presentation of the portable mortgage that I've heard of all of them.
Get the argument that it's going to open up properties where, think about it, some people who are empty nesters are living in a 6-bedroom house. They don't need that much space. So it's going to open up that inventory for a growing family. So, and again, I don't think one policy is going to be the solution to all, but
no,
I love
so
this
I'm
portability
desperate
thing.
because Jackie, I wanted to come to you. You have said you have your 2 or 3% mortgage. If you could take that with you to a new home and you were looking to move, would that not be a good incentive?
I think it will incentivize people to move, but I think it's problematic in many, many ways. And even if I couldn't take advantage of it, I would be okay with that. And here's why. When they came to survey the apartment that I was buying for the mortgage, they had an appraiser come, we went off comps. They decide what the property is worth. This isn't like when Verizon said you can take your cell phone with you to another carrier. This is a mortgage on a property.
So on CNN, we heard the same argument being given, saying it's just like when you take your plan to a new carrier. And now on Fox, we have them saying this is way more complicated than that. And it's maddening, right? How do you know how you should be looking at this?
That's given to you for a valid reason. And so now say I go and I decide that I want to do something else.
It's almost as frustrating as trying to listen to me on YouTube and having it come out of the non-$500 mic. And it sounds like I'm screaming at you guys from across the room.
How can you possibly compare two different properties? I think that creates a lot of red tape and a lot of danger as well within this market. The other aspect of it is the market and the pricing is what it is. And feel free to disagree with me, but it is what it is at a certain time because everybody understands what the mortgage rate is for the buyer who's purchasing that home. So now let's say we're competing in a landscape of pricing where you are going to get a 6% mortgage and I'm walking around with a 2.5% mortgage. I do think that creates a playing field that's not quite right. And I think in fairness to the seller, they should sort of understand it should be more standardized across the board, which is what everybody getting the same mortgage rate does. I don't know.
Dagan, weigh in.
Nobody is
very good
getting
conversation.
A 3% mortgage that you can take with you.
Right.
So this is some pie in the sky idea that's been peddled out there. If a lender is forced to give someone a portable mortgage, this is just, bear with me. This is the fable. The mortgage will come at a much higher interest rate because.
Now here's where she's going. She's about to tell you, but I can already see where this is coming. If I'm going to give you a 3% mortgage, my assumption is, because first off, I don't want to give my money to you at 3%. So I want to give you $500,000 at 3%. That's a terrible rate. I'm only doing it because I feel pretty confident that if you ever move or need to get equity out of the house, which at some point you're gonna, very few people, I don't have the statistic on hand, but very few people hold their mortgage for the full 30 years and pay it off. So if I got to give you that money at a low rate, I'm going to get paid up front because I'm going to collect closing costs, origination fees, whatever clever ways lenders collect money from you. Then I'm going to front load the interest that I collect on that loan so that when it gets paid off, even though I only got 3%, I got most of my money in your payments and I still made money even though I didn't get a great rate. If you force me to keep this forever, I'm not giving it to you at 3%. This is her point. I'm sure this is what's coming. I'm going to give it to you at 7, 8, 9, 10% if I can't ever get it back, my principal repaid, because it's too crazy risky to give it to you at 3%. So what this would effectively do, if this is true, is stop interest rates from ever going low again.
Then you never get rid of the mortgage. You're not getting a 3%. Because the life of the loan is so much longer and there's so much more risk that the lender takes on. A lender will charge you theoretically a much higher rate if that loan is portable. Because, for example, most mortgages used to be cashed in after about 7 years. You refi.
What do you think? Do you think that I made this argument better than they did and faster than they did? Should I be on Fox News with a lot of makeup and a really nice suit and a tie instead of a t-shirt and a cool city landscape behind me explaining real estate mortgages, business, and the economy? Or do you guys think I'm better off in my studio on YouTube with no one to tell me that my microphone isn't working until one of you wonderful people point it out? Does anyone have any connections on Fox News? And can you guys get me on there or on some news place so I can make these points better than they do?
You move or you pass away and move on. But now, because people are sitting on these 3.5% mortgages, the lenders are stuck with them and not getting paid back. Like loaning money for 30 years at 3.5%.
Right. They want you to give it back.
Right. Is a garbage loan. And the loans are not being paid down or unwound in the usual way. And that really screws over the lender. The borrower got a good deal, the lender not. And so with a portable mortgage, with the risk and the timeline, you're looking at a much higher rate. I did want to add that the VA, the Veterans Administration, the VA guaranteed loan for people in the military, they offer what are called assumable loans, which I do because of people in the military have to move so often that based on some of the mortgages, I don't know how often that people do this, that you can assume, if you're a buyer, you can assume the mortgage of the seller.
And I like that idea, but the problem is very few mortgages allow you to do that.
Yeah, right.
Well, very few allow you to do portable.
Oh no, that doesn't exist.
But
The assumability is very, very far, in between. And also that's why people are doing seller financing now. Like I have so many deals under contract now as a result of Mondani, and 50% of those are doing at least 50% seller financing. And and then they're paying off that loan within 24 months, let's say. I understand your point. I do understand your point. But I just
seller financing, if you're unfamiliar with this, which most of you probably are not if you're listening to me, but it's a way of having the seller lend you some of the money for the house and paying them interest at a lower rate than what the market rate would be to save yourself some money.
I think that this could be.
Also, who here believes that her shoulders are actually as wide as they look in that picture?
An advantage because it will open up supply. I do agree with you that if someone were to do that now, that the lender would never agree to 3% because of all the risks. It's like the 50-year mortgage as well. You're going to get a higher rate because it's 50 years.
No, but the portable mortgage, like you don't take the mortgage you have and add more time on. The idea is like if I've got a 30-year mortgage and I've got 15 years left, then that's the value that I can bring to the next one. So I don't think
your rate.
So you take your rate, but you don't take like a reloaded time frame. I don't think.
No, I don't think you would.
But I don't know. I'm just saying. I think that's the way.
Was it not last night that the CEOs of the big banks were supposed to go to the White House for dinner? It was people like Jamie Dimon and David Solomon. Brian Moynihan was off that list, but there was a litany of others. I find it interesting as we're discussing these housing options that the administration is floating that, there was a dinner party.
By the way, 50-year mortgage, bank could write that for you today if it wanted to. We're just talking about what the government is going to guarantee and get involved with.
Right.
All right. This video caught my eye a little bit here. What are they talking about? Trump makes America rich again, all in on affordability. Let's see.
My pledge to every family and every.
Does Trump love McDonald's as much as we keep hearing? Does anyone have any insider information on this? There is a strong tie between Trump, McDonald's, and the color orange, golden arches. Conspiracy?
Small businesses that I will not rest until you are richer, stronger, more successful, happier, till you've gotten a piece of the American dream. Now we have normal inflation. We're going to get it a little bit lower, frankly, but we have normal. We've normalized it. We have it down to a low level, but we're going to get it a little bit lower. We want perfection.
President Trump continuing to pitch the golden age of affordability at the Golden Arches. Welcome to the Big Money Show. I'm Taylor Riggs, along with my co-host, Egan McDowell, Brian Brenberg, Jackie DeAngelis. And with us for the entire hour, Fox Business contributor, we call him Jonathan Don't Panic Honig.
Yeah.
That's your
I'll
fighting
take that.
name.
Especially on a day like today. Don't panic. Great to be with you. Thank you, Taylor.
Great. Let's get on with it. The president speaking to franchise owners and suppliers about bringing down costs. His message, Joe Biden and created the affordability crisis. Trump is going to end it. The president zeroing in on the cost of living and taking the fight directly to small business owners. McDonald's serving as a barometer of how families are fretting about high prices. The company earlier this month adding more items to its extra value menu, all to pull in more customers. All right, Jonathan, don't panic, Honig. Talk to us about this.
It sure sounds like we're trying to save McDonald's right now.
Is an affordability issue, right? And the playbook had been, Trump really talked about it in 2024. That was the big election. The Democrats seem to start to use that word in the elections the last couple weeks. Now Trump's really trying to reclaim that.
Yeah, and it's not so difficult to understand how to get more affordability for everyday Americans. Cut government, size of government, government spending, government regulation, and that includes, it might not be so popular with the president, but that includes the tariffs. You know, it's estimated it's something on the order of $1,800 per family in terms of the extra tariff expense. So it's not a big mystery as to how to create wealth. You have to cut the size of government, and that includes all the taxes across the board, including the tariffs.
I know that we're going to talk about tariffs causing inflation, if not that's true, at a later hour.
Just simply raising costs. You know, for a lot of Americans, an extra $1,800 is a hell of a lot of money.
You know, Jackie, what else he mentioned is cutting government. But that's easier said than done. I think we joke on this program a lot that the most permanent program is like a temporary government one, because it just goes and goes and goes. It's really hard to scale back once you've dished out all the goodies. Is that possible?
Absolutely. People are used to it. We experienced DOGE cuts. Nobody liked that. So that was about the size of government over the spending that we're doing as a nation. Once you put it out there, Taylor, you are 100% correct. Then taking it back from people is really difficult. But what's really striking to me about the president and his message is he understands that they've taken his message and now are using it against him. And he also understands, and this has been a long time problem of the Republicans, that they're not great at messaging. They're dry. If you look at the other side, you've got people like AOC and Jasmine Crockett.
All right, looks like they're not going to talk much about lending, mortgages, or real estate here, so we don't have to get into that too much. I will say this. If they're talking about 50-year mortgages, they're talking about 40-year mortgages, portable mortgages. They have lenders of or they have like CEOs of big banks coming in to talk to President Trump. There is clearly conversations being had about how to improve housing. So if they're saying we need portable mortgages, someone's telling the president, we've got a problem. No one wants to sell their house because interest rates were too low. Trump wants to get rates back down. The Fed doesn't want to cooperate with that. He's looking for other solutions to our problem. Now, that's encouraging to me, and I hope it is to you guys too. You don't have to love the president, but you should be happy that we're at least having conversations in the White House about what we could do to get housing affordable, about what we could do to get housing changing hands again, and how we can get people moving and making more money. We need a lot of help in our economy. We need new jobs. We need better jobs. We need good jobs, and we need money to be changing hands. And so if conversations like this are being had, I am a happy camper. It's been a long time. We have not been talking about this. So I don't know if the portable mortgage or the 50-year mortgage will ever come into fruition. And if it does, I don't know if it has a big benefit, but I like hearing that we're paying attention to housing finally and trying to get housing costs low and trying to get housing inventory created. And I am really hoping that President Trump and his staff comes up with some plans for how we can get more houses built and bring affordability back. If you agree with me, like this video and let me know in the comments what you would like to see the president do, and that you're just happy that finally we're talking about housing, one of the biggest indicators of wealth that the average American has, to raise themselves out of the position that they're in and break their dependence and reliability on the W-2. Thank you guys for being here today. Thanks for joining me live. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to get notified when I go live, and I will try to do a better job of going live later in the day so that more people can catch it when they are home from work. As a last minute reminder, I do run a free faith-based mastermind. So if you're someone who wants to prioritize growing in your faith, deepening your relationship with God, or even asking questions that you may not be comfortable asking around other people or churches, DM me the word faith on Instagram at DavidGreene24. I will see your message and I will send you the info. Thanks, everybody.